Welcome to Fast Reach Tutors. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and please leave your comments for new videos.
The following video was requested from a student working on math problems, so this video will cover her questions.
Okay, so the first question says that the treadmill has a slope of 0.14 and has a run of 92 inches. Determine the rise. So we know that the slope is equal to rise over run. So to find rise, you have to multiply run and slope. So run is 92 and the slope is 0.14, which is equal to 12.88 inches. And to the nearest hundredth, it would be 2.90 inches. So the next question is, we need to graph the point 2 and negative 3, which has a slope of 5 and 4. So you have the point, so we should find the equation of the line, which is y equals mx plus b. So you have negative 3 equals 5 over 4 times 2 plus 5. Negative 3 minus 10 over 4 equals b. So negative 12 over 4. This can be written as negative 12 over 4. So 12 over 4 is equal to 3. Minus 10 over 4 equals b. Negative 22 over 4 equals b. The equation is y equals 5 over 4x minus 22 over 4. So since both terms in the equation have a 4 in the denominator, we can multiply the whole equation by 4. So 4y equals 5x minus 22. So it says to determine two additional points on the line, one to the left of point A and one to the right of point A. So we have the point 2 and negative 3. So let's try left of the point. So we'll do negative 2. So 4y equals 5 times negative 2 minus 22. So 4y equals negative 10 minus 22 equals negative 32. 4y equals 32. Y equals negative 8. So you have the point negative 2 and negative 8. So now this is to the left. Let's do one to the right. So let's do 14. So we have 4y equals 5 times 14 minus 22. So 5 times 14, 70. So 70 minus 22 equals 48. 4y equals 48. Y equals 12. So you have the point 14 and 12. So if we plot the equation for the line, we should be able to see -2 and 8 and point 2 and -3 and point 14 and 12. So let's graph it. So here is the graph of the equation for y equals 5x minus 22. The point that was given to us was 2 and -3, which you can see here. The other point that we found was -2 and -8, which is right here, and it's also on the line. And the other point that we saw was 14 and 12. So 14 and 12, which is also on the line. So that is the equation, and this is a graph of the equation. So the next question is, the line segment JK has endpoints -4 and 1 and 0 and 4 and has a slope of m equals 1 over 2. Algebraically determine the value of y. So you have the point -4 and 1, and you have the point 0 and y, and the slope we know is equal to 1 over 2. So let's do, so slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's consider this as x1 and y1. So 1 over 2 equals, oops, so this point we know that the x2 is 0. This is y minus, here the y is 1, and the x value is 4, and it's minus. So here we're left with over 4. 0 plus 4 is 4, and you're left with y minus 1. So you have the equation 1/2 is equal to y minus 1 over 4. So now we can figure out what y is. So you do 4, because you're multiplying this and this, 4, and then multiplying this by this. So you get 2y minus 2. So 4 plus 2 equals 2y. 6 equals 2y. Y equals 3. So now let's put it back in and see if that gives you a slope of 1/2. So you have slope is equal to, so here we did, so we found it was 3. 3 minus 1, 0 minus 4. So 3 minus 1 is 2, and 0 minus 4 is 4, and it reduces down to 1/2. So yep, that's correct. So next, the question is, a triangle has vertices -4 and 7, B 6 and 7, and C 1 and -3. Sketch the triangle on a grid below. Label your triangle. So you have, you have point -4 and 7. And you have B, which is 6 and 7. And the next point is 1 and negative 3. 1 and negative 3, label C. So these are the points A, B, and C. And you would need to join these. So we're going to look at this question. Determine if each of the following relations is a function. Give reasons for your answer. So in this case, so how you determine if it is a function is you look at the x values. If all of the x values are like unique, for instance, if we look at negative 4, if negative 4 has more than one value of y, that means it's not a function. So for instance, if it was negative 4, 34, and then there was another entry for negative 4 and 2, since the two y values are uh, different, then this is not it wouldn't be a function. So in this case, all of the x values are unique and all of the y values are unique. So this is a function. So if we look at this one, all of the um, each x value has only one value, y value point, so it is a function. If you look at this function, this value, which is 0, 0 has a value of negative 3 and also positive 3. So this would not be a function because one single the single x point can have different values of y. So this graph shows, this graph below represents function fx. So what is the value at f at negative 1? So what you do is you go to negative 1 and then you go down to where you go to the line. So it's negative 3. So it's negative 1 and negative 3. So what is the value of x when fx is equal to negative 1? So saying what this is saying is determine the value of x when y is equal to negative 1. So look at negative 1 and determine, so this is negative 1 and it the value of negative, so at when x is 1, y is negative 1. So that is x is equal to 1. Okay, let's look at another. So here, look at this graph. So the following distance time graph represents distance in kilometers Tony bicycled during a 50-minute period. So this is the time and this is the distance he's traveled. So determine the domain and range for this scenario. So the domain, so the domain is the x value. So time is from 0 minutes to 15 minutes. The range is from 0 to 6, 6 kilometers. So that's the range. Um, so you would write it as domain is equal to 0, comma 50, and then range would be r equals 0, comma 6. So determine. So the question asks us to find the domain for the problem provided before. So we have to look at the x-axis and the y-axis. For the domain, you look at the x-axis, which is 0 to 15 minutes, and then the range is from 0 to 6 kilometers. So it's asking us to find the rate of change between A and B. So what you do is you take the points and you find the slope. So 2 minus 0 and then 15 minus 0. So you get 2 kilometers per 15 minutes. So in order to find it in an hour, you have to multiply both the top and the bottom by 4. So you get 8 kilometers per hour between A and B. So then you find the slope for BC, which is 6, 30 and 6, and 15 and 2. So you do 6 minus 2 over 30 minus 15. So you get 4 over 15. So like above, you have to change, it's 4 kilometers per minute per 15 minutes. So in order to get hours, you have to multiply the top and the bottom by you have to multiply the top and the bottom by 4, and you get 16 kilometers per hour. So then you do CD. So you do 0 minus 6 and 0 minus 30, and you get 6 over 30, so 6 kilometers per 30 minutes. And since this is 30 minutes, you just have to multiply the top and bottom by 2, and you get 12 kilometers per hour. A possible scenario for this could be that you could say that Emily left home and was walking at a speed of 8 kilometers per hour for 15 minutes. Um, in because she needed to get to her location faster, she sped up. So for about 15 more minutes, she was walking at a speed of 16 kilometers per hour. And once she reached her destination, she returned home and walked at a constant pace of 12 kilometers per hour. So the next question is Samra works as Pulse World at Samra works at Purse World. For one day of work, she earns her daily wage of 90 plus 10% commission on every purse she sells. Each purse sells for $80. Samra's earnings can be modeled by equation E equals 90 plus 8N, where E is the Samra's total earnings and N is the number of purses she sells. Use your calculator to display the function for up to 30 purses. Sketch the graph as a function as shown on the calculator on the grid below. Steps A to C will ensure you have adequately labeled your sketch. So on the paper that's given, the x-axis should be the number of purses and the y-axis should be the earnings. So state the window that you used on your calculator in the following format. So the minimum x value, if we're going to do this from let's 0 to 30. If you see, so the question is the minimum x value and the max. So here it says use a calculator to display the function for 30 purses. So x, the minimum is 0 and the max is 30. And here the XSCL is the units that you're using. So here it's 2. See, it goes up by 2. And then let's just make this a little smaller so we can see. So then here, the Y minimum is 0 and the max is for 30. So for 30, okay, so at 30, the maximum would be like, if this is 350, I guess 325, and the units it's going up is hundreds. So label each axis with the proper function variable and subtitle. So here the total earnings would be in dollars, and the x-axis, which is the number of purses, doesn't have a unit, so it's just the number of. Label the y-axis and give its ordered pair. Okay, so the y-intercept is 0 and 90, and the x-intercept is negative. The x-intercept doesn't make sense because it would be negative. Label the y-intercept, which is 0 and 90, and give its ordered pair, so 0 and 90. Write the equation for the function using the function notation. So the equation is given as E equals 90 plus 8n, right? So you write this as function notation EX equals 90 plus 8x. So it's saying find E at 27. E27 equals 90 plus 8 times 27 equals 8 times 27 is 216, plus 90 is 306. So after selling 27 bags, the earnings would be $306. Okay, and algebraically determine the value of n if en equals 210. So if the earnings is 210, determine the number of bags sold. So 210 equals 90 plus 8n. So 210 minus 90 equals 8n. So 210 minus 9, 120 equals 8n. N equals 15. So when she has sold 15 bags, she would make an earning of $210. Okay, so that's that one. And that's so for this, a triangle has vertices negative 4, comma 7, B 6 and 7, and C 1 and negative 3. So what you need to do is first plot these points. So negative 4 and 7 would be negative 4 and negative 4 and 7 here. And then B 6 and 7, 6, 6 and 7, which would be there. And 1 and -3, which would be here. So then you have to join the points. So this would be the more difficult part, or not really difficult, but the part that you would need to do is, so first what we'll do is, so you have the points -4 and 7, 6 and 7, and C, 1 and -3. So in order to determine the perimeter, we need to find the distance of AB, which is going to be square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So for this one, it is for AB. So let's consider this as x2. So 6 minus 4 squared plus y2, 7 minus 7 squared. So you get 10 squared plus 0 squared, and the square root of 100 is equal to 10. So that's AB. Now we have to do BC, which is equal to, let's consider this as x2 and y2. So x2 is, so 1 minus 6 squared plus -3 minus 7 squared. So you have -5 squared plus -10 squared. So you have 25 plus 100, and then square root of 125. Square root of 125 is dBc. What we can do is we can do square root 100 times square root of what's, oh, what we can do is we can break this down a bit. So you have 25 and 5. So it equals 5 square root 5. And then you have D, we should do AC. AC is equal to, so you have square root 1 minus 4 squared plus -3 minus, oh sorry, it's just -7 squared equals, so it's 5 squared plus -10 squared. So you get 125. So you get square root of 125. So the total would be 10 plus, this and this are the same. I just simplified it even more. So this is also square root of 5.
So you do 5. So that's your answer. 10 plus 10 square root 5. So the next one, it says determine the determine the slope between A and C. So the slope between A and C is slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So yc. So let's consider C as the y2 and x2. So y2 is negative 3 over 1 minus 7 over minus 4. So you get negative 10 over 5 equals negative 2. So the slope is negative 2.